I went to a theme park. One of the reasons I'm so tired and achy, me and a couple of friends, we all went to Alton Towers, which is a theme park in the UK. I've been before. I've been twice before, actually. This is my third time going. I went once when I was maybe 13. I can't quite remember, but I was young, 12, 13. And then once again when I was 16. I'm 30 years old now. And not to put myself down, because Krober's in the chat and he won't let me do that. I'm a larger man. I'm a larger man than I was when I was 16. I'll just say that. I'm a big boy. And, oh boy, was I not prepared for the physicality of going to a theme park. It fucking killed me. It destroyed me. It broke me. Part of it was because we got lost. This isn't really the story, but I'll include it. If you ever go to Alton Towers, if you're watching this and you ever go to Alton Towers, stay away from the garden. Don't go to the garden. It's not for you. There's nothing there. There's nothing good in that garden. It is a downhill walk into a valley and then an uphill walk to get back the fuck out of the valley. It is not part of the theme park. They put it on the map for some reason. They have the Alton Towers Gardens. It's not a garden. It is a forest, and that's it. We spent... I mean, there's people in the chat who were there, and I have no concept of time from that. I feel like we were in there for half hour, maybe 40 minutes, because we were just trapped. You know, you get down real quick, because going downhill is easy, and then the only way back out is to go uphill. And it was awful. It started to piss down, there was lightning, and we were trapped in a fucking forest. Almost an hour, there we go. Not even a garden, it's an expedition. Yeah, 45 minutes easy. Cool, I was downplaying it. Not that there's ever a good time to get lost in a forest, but it was particularly poorly timed because of the rain, the aforementioned rain. The rides shut for a little bit. Actually, they shut for kind of a while. They shut for maybe longer than I think they needed to for the light drizzle that had happened. But it sucked because if that had happened while we were, you know, inside the amusement park, we could have gone for food, sat down, played some arcade games, gone on some of the, like, more experience-orientated things that hadn't shut down. But while all the rides were shut, we were just trapped in a forest trying to find our way out. So that sucked. But prior to that, and I do have to tell the story, I do have to include a slightly sad note on the story. But it is relevant, and it is going somewhere. So, there's a ride in Alton Towers. It used to be called Air. They changed the name to Galactica, which I do agree is an improvement than Air. I think Galactica sounds way cooler. And it's a strange ride where they strap you in, and then you kind of hang free. You just hang. You hang front ways, and it flies you around Superman style. It is okay. I've been on it when I was younger, it is okay. It's not the best ride in the park, it's not the worst, it is okay. But it is very prone to breaking down. Just something about the way they've designed it, the way the mechanics work on that ride. It breaks down often, which means the line is the slowest in the park by far. We went there on a Monday. No school holidays, no national holidays, no anything like that. The park was quiet. I don't think we waited in a line for any other ride longer than, I want to say 5 minutes, but maybe, I think there was one that was 10. There was one we got on instantly. Walking to the ride took, like, through the queue, took longer than actually getting on and riding the ride. It was insane. We were in line for Galactica. 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It was like a while, and that's not a long time necessarily for theme park rides in general, but it was long for that day, and it was absolutely boiling out. I know I said it was pissing down earlier. The rain came out of nowhere. It was boiling, 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 heat wave, pissing down, heat wave, heat wave, heat wave. It was very strange. 30-ish minutes. Okay, cool. I kind of lost track of time in that line because we were there for a while. Get to the ride, and this is the part I have to include because it is a little bit sad. It was my father's favorite ride ever. He loved Galactica Air at the time. It was the one he went to Alton Towers to ride. So I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go ride my dad's favorite ride. This will be great. I was too fat. They wouldn't let me on. They let me wait in a 35-minute line. I'm just gonna say it's more and more each time I tell this story. I was in that line for 7 hours, and I got to the seat, and the thing just wouldn't come around. My thighs are the issue. It doesn't really come across because I'm sat down while I do these streams. Like, most of my weight is in my arse, you know, and I was in that queue for 6 hours, so some of it had, like, atrophied, but it was still a pretty big ass, and I kind of squeezed myself into the seat. I couldn't get the bar around me. I asked the guy to help. I mean, there's somebody in the chat who was sat next to me during that. Is it fair to say that the guy didn't really try? Like, he didn't try that hard to get the thing to click. He sort of gave it a, and he's like, I don't think it's gonna work, mate. And I like squeezed myself a bit more, and I was like, give it another try. And he's like, all right, I'll give it one more try. And he barely tried, and then kicked me off the ride. Not gonna lie, hurts the ego a little bit. Of course it does. It's fine. Shit happens. And the only thing that really, there was like a combination of things that actually upset me. And this isn't the story. I am going to get to the funny part. It was like a combination. I was like, oh, it's my dad's favorite ride. Yes, it hurts to be too fat to get on a ride. And we waited in line for 17 years. You know, it was the combination of those three really bummed me out. And then immediately after that, we got lost in the forest. So I think it's safe to say morale, at least mine, was fairly low at this point in the day. I'd like... You know, it was bumming me down a bit. He phoned it in. Yeah, absolutely. Man, that sucks so much. Sexy ass though. You know, I could get into that part of it. I won't spend too long talking about it. I'm a big dude. I don't think I'm massive. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I'm the biggest person in the world. So I was a little bit like, man, there's gonna be plenty of people coming to this park that just aren't gonna fit in this ride. I found it very not accommodating. I'll put it like that. Do you know what I mean? But still, it's the size it is. Oh, one other thing. I almost forgot this detail. They have a tester seat at the start of the queue, to be fair to them, so that you don't wait in line for ages and then find out you're just not gonna fit in the seats. They actually do put a tester seat there. Didn't work. Tester seat was broke. Couldn't use it. So I tried. I've tried, and had I sat in it, I would have known, and I just wouldn't have waited in the line, and then I'd have gone to do something else. Do you know what I mean? It would have been fine. You know, that kind of pissed me off as well. It also... Multiple staff members, because of the size of the queue, were involved in the process of getting me to the ride, and I was a little bit miffed that none of them went, ah, mate, listen, I think you're just a bit too big for this ride. Because they knew someone was going to have to tell me that. It's not like they all could avoid it. They were just passing the buck to the last person to have to go, nah, sorry, you got to get off. So, you know, it was like a combination of a lot of things. Morale was low, but we move, and it's fine. We got out of the gardens, sat around doing nothing for about 20 minutes because we were all dead and all the rides were shut. But then the rides started opening back up. And I gotta be honest, internally, especially when we were lost in the forest, I was thinking to myself, I might not. That was really embarrassing. Like, it was. I'm fine now. I've slept. I'm good. It was embarrassing in the moment, and I don't really want to do that again. I don't really want to have that happen again. So and I'm also exhausted, and I've also ridden a lot of rides anyway. I might just leave it. But then, I don't know, when the ride started opening back up, something I was like, no, I should go. And I got on the next ride, which was the Smiler. Only reason I'm mentioning that one is because it was fucking awesome, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. That's it. That's the only note on the Smiler. It's worth going to Alton Towers just for the Smiler. It's the best ride in the park. Probably the best ride I've ever been on. It was fucking brilliant. Got off that ride, and then we found out that Oblivion was open. And I'm gonna quickly pull up an image of Oblivion, just to really set the scene. So it's a vertical drop roller coaster, right? They take you up, the height of it doesn't really come across in this image, but they take you up here, where my mouse is, they dangle you, and then they drop you into a hole straight fucking down. To give it scale, look at the size of the people, right? These are humans. These are humans, and this is the size of the coaster. It's pretty extreme. It's also, until I went on the Smiler, my favorite ride in the park. I actually think I like the Smiler more, but Oblivion is still a close second. Judging by the time we had left in the day, this was probably going to be the last ride we were going to be able to go on as well. So I was also, you know, like, yeah, let's go on Oblivion, let's get on it. But as we were get in the queue for Oblivion, I noticed that there was another tester seat for Oblivion. We didn't have time for me to go on that tester seat, because if I had dragged the other two I was on the ride with away, more people would have got ahead of us, the queue would have been longer, and we didn't have time. Just as simple as that. We didn't have time for me to get in this tester seat. So the entire time I'm in the line, I'm thinking, I'm not going to fit in this. Because the other ride that had a tester seat, they put the tester seat there when they know bigger people aren't going to get on this ride, to stop people queuing. That's why they do the tester seat. Other rides didn't have tester seats. Those were the only two I noticed. So the entire time I'm like, I'm not getting on this. And that'll be a shame. I'm making a mistake here because this is the other ride I really want to go on, and I know I'm going to sit in it and they're going to tell me that I can't be on it. Nonetheless, stayed in the line. And it's pretty quick because just we got kind of lucky with where we got on the line. We were only in queue for about 5 minutes. Also, there was basically no one in the park. The cart pulls up. I go take my seat. I sit down, and immediately I'm like, nah, I know this isn't happening. I know this isn't working. I can feel like the bottom of my ass isn't even touching the bottom of the seat because I'm basically like wedging myself, holding myself up on the side of the seat. I try to pull the like headrest down over myself, and it's just not going. It's pretty close. It's pretty close, but it's just not quite going. I couldn't like get it close enough myself that I felt like somebody else would be able to get it on me. So I'm bracing myself. I'm thinking like, all right, I know they're gonna kick me off again. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And the reason I mentioned the other guy on air, and I'll include some physical descriptions. The guy on Galactica who couldn't get me in the ride was pretty beefy dude. Do you know what I mean? You know, a well-built man. I'll just include that little detail. And he barely gave it any attempt, to be honest. He just couldn't be asked. He was like, you don't fit, get off, fuck you. The person who was in charge of checking the seats for Oblivion was a very petite woman. She was small, short, and she was the one in charge of checking it. And when she walked over, I say to her, I don't think I'm fitting. I think it had like locked to the point that I couldn't get back out of it. So I was gonna need help. Like either way, she needed to help me. So I just volunteered the information. I don't think I'm gonna fit in this. She didn't say a fucking word to me. She didn't open her mouth. She barely even looked me in the eye. She just starts going to fucking town, putting everything she has into getting this like safety bracket around me into a position where it clicks. And she's pushing, and I'm like, I really don't think it's going. I'm trying my best to suck myself in and make myself as small as possible. She gives it like one real and I let out the loudest fart I've ever done. The loudest fart I have ever done. She heard it. I was pretty convinced my mate sat next to me could hear it. He said he didn't, but he is also not familiar with the sounds of the rides. So he assumed it was just the sound of a ride. She knows what the ride sounds like. She knows that wasn't part of the ride. She knows exactly what just happened because she looked me dead in the eyes. And then she just buckled it and walked off. I'm pretty convinced in that moment, she accepted I was probably gonna die. She looked at me and thought, fuck you. This is the end of the day and you have made it so much worse. If you die, you die. And she walked away. And I didn't die. And I got to ride Oblivion. That's my story. It was awesome. It was so much fun. But the bit on the way up, I'm like testing the thing. I'm like, oh, this might... I don't know, this might be it. This might be the death of me. Because she absolutely came to the conclusion that it was good enough. You know? And I don't really ever want that from roller coaster safety people. I don't ever want it to just be good enough. I want it to be great. And yeah, this isn't my joke. I think it was Bury Me in Garbage in the chat who pointed this out, that it might have been the fart that made me fit. That might have been the last little bit of space I needed to get the thing to click so it wouldn't go anywhere. But that's not my observation. I will never forget you telling us that in the car on the way home. I debated whether or not I was going to tell people because it's a little embarrassing. Of course it is. But it's really fucking funny. It's really funny. And how funny it is has to outweigh how embarrassing it is. The world just has to know. You prayed to God to help you in your time of need, and that was his answer. Yeah. Oh, and she knew too. 100%. And I mean, it wasn't, you know, because I don't want to get into the anatomy of a fart. I don't think I need to do that. I think we all understand how they work. But just broadly speaking, when you squish a lot of skin together, you tend to get a lot of sound, you know? So it was very audible. Very, very audible. And again, she looked me right in the eyes. And it was a look. It was a very telling look. I know she knows. I think she'll always know. God, I can imagine it so clearly. You probably made her day. I don't think I did. I really don't. I'd love to pretend that that was the highlight of her day, but the look she gave me was not one of, nah, you fucker. Go on, get up there and fall to your death. Go on. It was a, I really hope you die. I would like that. I would like nothing more than if this isn't buckled and you die. She's telling everyone, she is, and I would hope she tells it to someone that then makes that an enjoyable story for her. You know what I mean? I hope she tells it to someone, and the person she tells it to has enough fun with it that it becomes fun with her. I bet she said another farter, huh? Yeah, I wasn't the only one. Like, I'm telling this story, but everyone has that story. That's just what she does. That's like her technique to make sure the thing is like, you gotta squeeze it until they fart, and then you know they're in. You know they ain't going fucking anywhere. And that's why she was so, like, nonplussed on her face. It was just the 100th fart of the day, telling the story of how she met the Montgomery. Yeah, can you imagine? She was about to say, like, oh, I'm such a big fan, and then I just fucking blew her away with a fart. I think that's really the only story from the trip worth telling. Actually, no, there is one more. It's not that crazy. After we got back from the park, we were still at the hotel. We went for food. This is a very short sort of post story. It's not as good as Fartgate, but it is pretty good. And I think this might have been an accent thing for what it's worth, because I'm in sort of middle of England. I'm from the south of Wales. There is a decent accent difference, and I understand the communication might have not been there. But went to Burger King. Not learning my lesson. I decided after, not being allowed on a ride for being too fat and almost not being allowed on another one for the same reason, I thought, nah, double down, let's get a Burger King. Let's go the opposite direction. Let's get so fat that they have to accommodate me. I'm gonna make it a problem for them. So we went to Burger King, and it was me, 2 other people. We were ordering for 5 people, so 3 people carrying 5 people's food. It is relevant. I order mine and kakakis, and the food comes. And the lady just puts the 2 drinks in a little drink holder on the counter. And I'm like, I'm not really going to be able to carry a big bag of food and 2 drinks. If I was carrying it to, like, a table, fair enough. But it's like, I gotta walk back to the hotel with us. I didn't explain any of this. I just walked up to her, and I very nicely said, could you put... can I have a bag for those 2 drinks? Like when you order Deliveroo, and they'll put the drinks in a bag so that you can just grab the top of the bag and lift 2 drinks at once. And Birmingham Garbage was there at the time. He can back me up on this. I rocked that woman's world. I ruined her day with that question. She looked at me like I had just asked her to spit in all my food. She was so confused. I was like, very smiley, all things considered. I was like, oh, can I have a bag? And also, I didn't say, can you put this in a bag? I asked, can I have a bag to put the drinks in? So I was willing to just do the work anyway. I just wanted the bag. And she goes, in the bag? Yeah. Yeah, so I can carry it. She said nothing else. She sort of turned around slowly, grabbed way too small a bag. It's not a bag for 2 drinks. Just like basically like a little chip bag that you put a small fries in. And then spent 30 to 40 seconds making the worst attempt I have ever seen at putting anything in anything. She like put the drink in first and then realized that wasn't going to work, so she took the drink back out and then put the drink holder in the bag, which I guess that kind of makes sense. It's weird you didn't start there. Then she awkwardly gets 1 in, at which point one of the people I'm with says, oh, I've got a free hand, I could just hold that. So I'm like, okay, stop. Please stop. You're free. Go. You can go. And it took her like 10 seconds to realize I was saying that. I was like saying to her face, oh, it's fine. Don't worry. Thank you for trying. We'll just hold them. And she's still trying to figure it out while acknowledging that I don't want her to be doing this anymore. It was so strange. She was bewildered. She looked at you like you had not long farted on Oblivion. Yeah, she knew. She got the call. Well, that's my story. That's my fart and burger story. I hope you enjoyed.